default, Tarkov keybinds are the worst. With the new vaulting and shoulder swapping features added, I have some solid key binding insights to share. I've played lots of Tarkov and perfected my keybinds to gain an edge in many areas, in which I'll split into movement, combat, healing, and interactions. And stick around till the end, where I'll compare keybinds from two top-tier players and see what we can learn from them. One of the things that's really bad with Tarkov keybinds by default is how some are on release, when they should be set to press to reduce input delay, or just the time it takes you to press them. So an example is crouch is set to release by default. Set that to press, and you'll notice crouching will now feel a lot more responsive. Next, I unbind tilde from console and set insert instead, so I can hit it on accident. Tilde is the key I use instead for vaulting, which is next. Using the default continuous spacebar keybind for this new feature definitely works, but you should absolutely change it. Why is that? You can avoid the input delay and save milliseconds when you really need to jump by having both jump and vault on press for different keys, not on release. And we all know how fast we die in Tarkov, so having a keybind for vaulting means you basically can't mess it up, and it's now instant like your jump. What keybinds options do we have? Well, some of the community uses V for vaulting. I use tilde. Now for leaning, I personally don't mind the default Q&E lean, but some players don't like it, since it makes it difficult to strafe and lean at the same time. Here are two very popular alternatives. Swapping Q and E, so lean right is now Q and lean left is now E. Makes it easier to strafe into an angle and leaning in the same direction at the same time. Another option is to use mouse buttons. This will give you more freedom in movement. It gets some more time to get used to, especially if you have a high sense and a lightweight mouse. If you pick either of those alternatives, you might want to change your two smooth lean keybinds as well here. This one is preference like many things. Don't let anyone tell you press/toggle for ADS is wrong. I played with both for thousands of hours, and I happen to play on continuous now. They each open up possibilities in Tarkov. For press, if you play with snipers a lot, toggle is probably better. If you have ADS on press, you can set hold breath and continuous to make your aim instantly stable when aiming down sights. All you have to do to stop holding your breath is to let go of right click. For continuous, it saves you milliseconds of time when you need to flick on someone. I'll come back to this later, but I set my discard keybind to the same as my swap shoulder 1, which is mouse 3. I use mouse 3 to discard and swap shoulders for that same key. Why? They don't conflict, since your PMC won't actually change shoulders while you discard stuff in your inventory. I can have my entire left hand free while changing shoulders, which allows me to move my character freely. Now, if your client doesn't allow you to keybind shoulder and discard together, I'll have a link to Reddit to show you the config file location so you can make that change yourself. Next, bind inspect current weapon and check chamber fix malfunction to press and release on the same key. So you only need to press one key, fix a malfunction. I personally use H. Zeroing. Some players rely only on the mill dots of their scopes. I like to zero when I shoot at long range. Page up, page down is the default, which makes you take your left hand off important keys. I recommend shift, scroll up, shift, scroll down, and that doesn't conflict with anything. Next, take off set fire mode to full auto and only set switch fire mode to B, which makes it much faster to switch between single and auto, as this will now be press type keybind. Switch between sights and change scope magnification. I change these to Z and double click Z, as I like it to be on a single key with no modifiers. It's easier for switching sights while running. Relooking on mouse wheel is default and I keep it as is. Hold breath is final alt. I use left shift, more on that later. I unbind sidearm quick swap, as the default double click adds input delay to your regular weapon on sling key. Now, this one is very much preference, but I have melee on T and tactical devices on my mouse instead. I don't recommend you doing this. I also reordered my weapon's keybind to have my main weapon on 1, secondary on 2, and pistol on 3. Coming from CS and PUBG, it just felt more natural to me. Healing. For healing, the most important part is binding 4 to release. To select the body part you want to heal by using your scroll wheel. This is a game changer. By default, Tarkov will heal a bleed first, then heal your most damaged limb, which is not what we need in most fights. You need to keep your thorax and head to full health. This will literally save you by allowing you to do just that. Another one some people don't know about is what I call double binding heals to 4 with press and release. This allows you to press 4 and have your heavy bleeds taken care of. And if you don't have any, your Salua gets used to heal you up normally, and it frees up a keybind. Lastly, make sure you have double click to use in raid only. This way, you can use stims quicker from your safe container. Don't keep your delete key as your key to discard. You will loot a lot quicker with modifiers, plus mouse click is great, or a mouse button to discard instead. This is nice to drop gear to your teammates really quick too. Next, you should bind check time and exit to press and unbind check time. This will save you lots of time by having to check the time in extracts. And for push to talk, the default key is K and I bind V, so I don't have to move my fingers from WASD to hit it to talk to scavs or other PMCs. It is also interesting to look at what some of the best players to touch this game use for keybinds. So let's look at Desmond Pilax first. Desmond uses default QE lean. Aim on continuous. Makes sense. He plays at a very fast pace, very aggressive playstyle. Change scope magnification is on mouse 3. Set fire mode to full auto is not set like we discussed. Only switch fire mode is. His crouch is on C release. Could be made C press. Heal 4 on release. Discard is on mouse 4. It's the same as his shoulder transition. And vaulting is default for him. The next player doesn't need any introductions.
3-piece.
Landmark's aim is on continuous, not on press. He also switched sides and scope magnification using Z and double click Z, which like we said is easier for switching sides while running. His free look is on left alt. Something interesting is all his slots 4 to 0 are set to release. This allows the selective healing with scroll wheel like we saw. And lastly, he bound console to F8 to allow to use tilde for shoulder transition. Something they both have in common is they use shift to hold breath. If you enjoy this keybind guide and want to see them in action, check out my latest video where I navigate through Tarkov after joining the wipe late. Don't miss out and remember to subscribe for more Tarkov content.